So, who has had a good week, Katy?
Well, this is a bit of an awkward topic change from Serbia because I've chosen something very unserious to talk about this week, but we could all do with a bit of silliness, I think. So I'm going to say it's been a good week for people who like experimenting with new recipes after a controversy in recent days over whether or not you can eat Christmas trees. Have you ever tried eating a Christmas tree, Wojciech?
Eating a Christmas tree? No, that has not come up to me.
Yeah, it's not something that has ever occurred to me either. But it turns out that you can, in specific, carefully controlled circumstances. Okay? Stay safe, everyone. This controversy started in the Belgian city of Ghent last week. Ghent is a quite proudly eco-friendly city. It brands itself, for example, as the vegetarian capital of Europe because it has more vegetarian restaurants per capita than big cities like Paris, for example. And this post-Christmas period has been no exception in terms of City Hall's well-meaning messaging. Last week, the city of Ghent launched a campaign encouraging residents to prevent waste after the festivities in various ways. For example, by inviting friends over to eat a soup or a quiche that you have made with any sad vegetables that have been languishing at the bottom of your fridge. Make some pickles, City Hall suggested on its website. Reuse your gift wrapping. And then City Hall turned its attention to the prickly question of what to do with all of the Christmas trees that people have been throwing out over the past couple of weeks. In my neighborhood here in Paris, there's a big kind of Christmas tree graveyard where you can take them, and then I think they get turned into like wood chips and spread in the parks over the soil. Apparently it's quite good at stopping weeds from growing. And what happens in Warsaw? Do people just leave them in the street?
So I remember there was this action, I think that was 3 years ago, where they called it a Christmas tree last duty. And we were just piling trees in front of our houses. They were collected by some municipal services, and then they were supposed to be burned and turned into energy, which is hopefully some kind of like greener energy than the one we usually get from coal.
Yeah, we have to hope. Dominic talked in our last podcast before the holidays about the ongoing debate about the environmental impact of Christmas trees. And the eco-friendly city of Ghent is very mindful of this debate. It suggested planting the Christmas tree in your garden, if you have one, in the hope that you might be able to use it again next year, just like Dominic does. Well done, Dominic. And then the city suggested, and I quote from the website, "In Scandinavia, pine needles have been used in culinary dishes for a long time. Pick the needles from branches, dip them briefly in boiling water, dry them on a cloth, and then use them for spruce needle butter." Have you ever heard of this dish, spruce needle butter?
No, not really. Also, I think my Christmas tree had at least 5 kilograms of pine needles. So am I supposed to turn it into 5 kilograms of butter?
You could make a year's worth of butter for sure. I mean, there is indeed this long tradition of cooking with spruce needles in Scandinavia. You can use them to infuse in syrups or indeed butter or alcohol like schnapps. Supposedly the Vikings brewed spruce beer, which they thought made them more courageous in battle and also more fertile.
Now I'm interested.
Yeah, that's what you could do with your 5 kilos. Make yourself some nice beer. I actually also found recipes for spruce butter, spruce oil, and spruce vinegar by René Redzepi, the chef of the legendary and quite controversial Copenhagen restaurant Noma, one of the world's fanciest chefs. These recipes were on the New York Times website from back in 2010. But at the time, René Redzepi seemed to agree with Ghent City Hall about the environmental benefits of giving your Christmas tree a second life by cooking with it. He said, "It seems pointless simply to discard this bounty after only a few weeks of using it as ornamentation. This year, let's all butcher the tree."
Okay, so what's the problem? Why can't we just be obedient to René Redzepi and eat the trees?
Well, the problem is that the Belgian Food Safety Agency swiftly intervened after the city of Ghent made the suggestion, and they warned people not to listen to Ghent. They should not eat their Christmas trees. And this is because, as you might have guessed, the kinds of Christmas trees that a lot of us have had in our homes over the past few weeks have been commercially grown. And as such, they have often been sprayed with all kinds of chemicals, pesticides, fire retardants to make them less dangerous.
Really?
Yeah, if you think about it, they're kind of fire hazards despite being very pretty and jolly. Even when they're not covered in chemicals, not all Christmas trees are in fact edible. Yew trees, for example, are sometimes sold as Christmas trees, and you do not want to eat one of those because they are poisonous. So the basic message from the Belgian Food Safety Agency was abort, abort, don't listen to Ghent City Hall. This is a terrible way of recycling your Christmas tree. And funnily enough, the City Hall website has now been updated to include this warning.
So Christmas trees are like mushrooms. You have to pick the right ones. Otherwise,
Yes.
you're in trouble.
You have to be very careful.
Okay, but as far as I remember, this is a good week. And you said it's a good idea to cook pine needles and eat your Christmas tree.
Well, yes, I mean, with caveats. And I've given this idea good week because there's been another plot twist. Sweden's Food Safety Agency has now got involved with this. This is truly an international story as well as a very silly one. Because, of course, there is this long tradition of cooking with pine needles in Scandinavia. So my enterprising former colleagues at AFP News Agency thought to ask the Swedish food safety experts what they thought about all of this. And they spoke to a toxicologist at the Swedish Food Agency, Annelie Widenfalk, who basically told them that you kind of want to do the opposite of cooking with a used Christmas tree just after the holidays. She said that actually the Swedish tradition is to collect the needles from young Christmas tree saplings in May or June, when the needles are very small and probably haven't been treated with chemicals yet. Anyway, I guess the lesson from all of this is that we are not all lucky enough to live on the edge of a pristine Scandinavian forest where you can just pluck some pine needles and be sure that they're not covered in dangerous chemicals. You would probably want to exercise more caution with a Christmas tree that you bought at Lidl or wherever. But if you do find yourself in circumstances where you've got access to a tree that you reckon is clean, especially in May or June, feel free to go wild with your culinary experiments. And to the Scandinavians listening to this, if you grew up eating spruce-flavored things, I'd love to hear about it and even your favorite recipes. I hear that things infused with spruce can be very tasty and fragrant. So drop us a line with those recipes, please. hello@europeanspodcast.com.
I can share something already.
Oh, yeah?
I had a beer, actually, that was spruce flavored, and it was very good, very refreshing.
Oh, the Viking beer. Did you feel more courageous in battle and more fertile?
I have not exactly been in a battle for quite some time now, but I think that would definitely push me to be the leader of a unit or something.